At the very beginning, I was working in the office. On my lunch break, I'd go to my computer, I'd make cold calls. It was the worst thing ever. I remember there was this one night where I was on the phone with my girlfriend. I just started crying like I could not do any of the things I wanted to do. The conversation I had with you in the offer call, just my whole frame of mind around what business is completely changed. Transitioned the product, immediately got 2 sales, $15,000 deal for commercial as well as residential. Brought on another agent for $9,360. If you just, it's impossible to lose. And
Alrighty, fellas, in this video, we're going to have a quick but powerful client interview with one of my clients named Shane, who just in the last couple of months has gone from being trapped deep inside of the corporate world, working at one of the biggest tech companies in the world, to having a literal breakdown where he said, I cannot do this anymore, to then going through a whole bunch of challenges and whatnot, trying to get his real estate marketing agency off the ground before partnering with Catalyst, making one simple but completely monumental transformation in his business, which he's going to detail so you could even copy that and implement it into your business, to then since just in the last 2 months collecting about $40,000 from, well, starting at zero before that. So going to walk through Shane's entire story, and most importantly, we're going to dive into the key changes that he made inside of his business so you can just copy that as you know it's already going to work and implement that into yours. Alrighty, Shane. So what inspired you to start your entrepreneurial journey in the first place? Like, I know you used to work at obviously a pretty big company. Why did you even decide to do this in the first place?
yeah, I mean, since the beginning, I've always been like, I've never really wanted to follow a particular structure. I always knew I wanted to do something different, very big, but I also knew I could move my way up in the corporate ladder. Like I knew I could speak very well. I know I'm a very hard worker. I know I'm very smart. You know, it was clear to me that the people I was working around, people in the corporate sphere, even at the highest level, like Meta, they kind of paced their way out of things. And I knew I could kind of outpace people. I could make it to the VP level, eventually making, $500,000 a year, maybe even more than that with company stock and stuff like that. But just with the way things were going back in 2020, I put my foot in the door. I had a great job, but I never really liked being told what to do by people that I felt were not, more competent than I was when it comes to, my job. When COVID happened, everyone was, getting vaccinated. Everyone was following orders. I told my employer, I respect where you're coming from. At the end of the day, this is my choice and I plan on not doing it. I had to jump through a bunch of hoops. And as soon as I was able to get approved to come back in, the restrictions dropped and everyone was able to come back to work, which was kind of ironic. And but from that moment, I always knew like, okay, I have to start putting in the work right here, right now to get myself out of this ladder, because I'm not going to be told what to do with my life by anyone or anything. I've always wanted to be in control of my own destiny, my own future. I hate being told that I can't get a raise. I hate being told that even though I'm outpacing the person next to me who's 40 years old, who I have to manage, who's incompetent, they're getting paid more than me. It never made sense to me. And I always knew I could make it on my own. So at the very beginning, I was working in the office. On my lunch break, I'd go to my computer, I'd make cold calls. When I was at Petco, I'd hire people to try to take care of the back end work for me. I was always kind of lost, but I never stopped. I was also a club promoter. I got into the e-commerce space as well. I was doing a bunch of stuff. It was always just about trying new things, trying to make money. And I did make quite a bit of money here and there, but it was just a crazy struggle. This company I have now was always like, it was a primary starting point. But I always got distracted with like other things. And come 2021, I really buckled down. I knew what I had to do, and I figured out how to get work from home at all times. So I'd just bounce my job, I'd cold call, I'd hop on sales calls when my boss wasn't looking. I just slowly built my skills, got myself to the place I needed to. And come 2023, I started getting some traction. I got my first client in real estate. Before I started in MMA gyms, because I thought based on my interest that's what I should do. I realized MMA gyms didn't have any money to work with, so I moved to solar panels, and I ended up staying in real estate. And then it took off. I got a mentorship in generate agent leads with Prod Mangit and learned a lot from those guys. I was able to make my first 15K months, 20K months, and eventually ended up here now in commercial real estate.
So what was life like before you started with us?
College was fun. I was in a fraternity. I was partying all the time. I was doing a lot of bad things. Come time when I was in the corporate world, I still wasn't doing all the right things, but it was horrible. I remember this was when I was living in San Diego. And at this time, I really wanted to kickbox. I wanted to do my entrepreneur stuff. I wanted to do all these things. And I was living with my friends and we're all doing the same thing, but I had to drive 2 hours, 1 hour forward 2 hours back on traffic, trying to hit the gym, trying to keep my body together, trying to, keep my other things going. Couldn't do kickboxing. I remember there was this one night where I was on the phone with my girlfriend. I was meal prepping for the next day, and I just started just crying like I could not do any of the things I wanted to do. I had so much ambition. I couldn't go anywhere, and I had to do the same thing every day. I had to show up for the person who pays me, and it was like, to other people it felt like it was so normal, but to me it was the worst thing. It was the worst thing ever. Like going to lunches with like 40-year-olds. I'm the youngest on the team by like a huge margin. Everyone's so fake. No one really gives a fuck about me. I know, but it's like dumb shit. Like, and I'm just like, it was never like bad. Like I'm always so grateful for the position to be able to be in. But for me, just was not acceptable to myself. So it wasn't horrible for sure. I was always blessed. I was always getting paid. I had food on the table, but it wasn't really easy by any means.
Oh, for sure. Then what were, like, I guess more specifically, what was life like with the business before you started?
Oh man, it was damn near not existent, because I had to allocate so much time to spend my full-time job that I hired a cold caller. He wasn't doing me anything, like I had such a low understanding of, business fundamentals, what it took to operate a business. And it was really just me hustling. As a club promoter, I was driving an hour at night, coming home at like 4 a.m., collecting barely any money because, event wouldn't pop off or whatever it might be. In business, it's very difficult. You always find a way. Of course, you never stop. You always try to figure out a way to make it work, but it was tough. And there were a lot of times I felt like giving up, but you just take it one day at a time.
And what were the like stats of your business at this time?
Working for free, putting thousands of dollars of my own cash that I make from my job into my business, trying to find ways to pay people to do what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do while I'm at work, just continuously in the negative. I never tracked it because I didn't want to look at how much was exiting my bank account, but it must have been thousands and thousands before I hit a profit.
You were in the situation, obviously. You then, like, why did you decide it was time to make a change?
Well, what happened was I had to get myself to a place where I knew I could leave my job while doing my business. So what that meant was I had to be kind of strategic in what I was doing to do work. So I did get a new job, and by the blessing of God and the universe, I got a better job with more freedom that came with it. And I knew I had to use this opportunity to take advantage of it, right, with my time freedom. And before I left, my boss kind of had inkling, like, you have something else going on, don't you? Like, on the side or whatever it may be. And I didn't waste any time because I knew it was an opportunity. I knew I might not have the time forever. So I took advantage of it. I invested my money in the right places. I paid the right people to give me the right information. And eventually I got my business to the right place where it's kind of like the stars just aligned, where I got to the perfect place to where when it was time to leave, I could, transition to, doing my business full time. And not a lot of people can say they do that. I don't really know anyone on YouTube that's spoken on doing that level in the corporate world, kind of balancing and juggling it, and then being able to transition like clockwork with perfect timing, all while living on their own, not with their parents, and paying the bills.
What were you most concerned about?
Probably just the rent. It's an unpredictable, and I'm still dealing with that now. It's sometimes I don't sleep at night. Just not knowing exactly when the next paycheck is going to come is always like, it's always been the struggle then, and it's a struggle now, but hopefully soon in the future it won't be that struggle.
Why did you decide to work with Catalyst though?
Well, first and foremost, I've always, watched your videos. I've always got a ton of value from it, and I love your style of giving across information. So one of my friends recommended it. Again, stars just kind of aligned for me, in the right times and the right thing. I work my hardest, and I think that the universe just kind of lines things up for me where, I was at a good spot come 2025. I was ready to put, pedal to the metal. I knew my job was ending, like I had to end my job soon and go all in. So one of my friends recommended, like, hey, I'm thinking about working with this company. I'm thinking about working somewhere else. Like, you want to take my spot? And he sent me the link. I saw Dylan's face and I saw the VSL. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. Obviously, this is what I got to do.
That's sweet. So then walk us through the journey of what it's been like working with Catalyst and kind of start to where we are now.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, first and foremost, I think you can't just really go into business with anyone, right? Like, you have to be on a person-to-person connection. If I'm communicating with someone every single day, there needs to be some point of resonation, right? Like resonance between myself and the team. I think every single one of you guys are super chill first and foremost. You guys are pure professional. You guys are working around the clock. You guys have a lot of good information, a lot of, business knowledge to give across. So from the beginning, Onboarding process was extremely smooth. I mean, I could tell from the very beginning, like, you guys know exactly what you're doing, right? So I never had a fear in my heart that things wouldn't go my way. From the onboarding call with Josh, immediately, kid's 21 years old. I love the ability to just ask him questions and for him just open up and show me like how smart he is. Same thing with Xander. Same thing with, your sales process that you have going on. It was very clear listening to Noah that he has tons and tons of sales experience. The offer call, tons and tons of, knowledge to not just show me the correct path, but also give me a mindset shift to wake up, honestly, like the true entrepreneur in myself, rather than just trying to scrape it by, copy, trying to figure out what I can do that everyone else is doing and just getting ahead, but actually thinking like a real entrepreneur, waking me up saying, look, are you who you say you are? Are you just like, are you trying to fake your way through this? So I'm able to, and I love those hard conversations. I love getting to the next level. And I felt like as soon as I joined you guys, I knew like this is going to be the next level and I have to rise to the occasion. So it's been amazing.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear. Now, from your perspective, was there a specific moment or strategy or thing that we did that was kind of like a breakthrough and made a significant difference for you?
Yeah, I think just transition the conversation I had with you in the offer call to transition to commercial real estate for sure. Just understand, just my whole frame of mind around what business is completely changed. Because then it was like it came with a lot more freedom, right? I realized it's not a game of just finding what I'm good at and what I'm experienced with and running with it. It's about understanding marketing, understanding sales, understanding the basic premise of fulfillment. And when I have those understandings, and the true freedom really comes from now knowing that it doesn't really matter what happens in the world, I'll be able to figure it out because I have not an understanding of this opportunity. I have the skills to develop a business in any given opportunity, right? Because I have a certain understanding that frankly a lot of people I don't think have, and they are like seeing the opportunity and they copy what other people are telling them to do and going that way. So that was a huge shift for me because I was always hopping on calls with residential agents, just like you told me, that are mistrustful. I have to spend too much time in the sales cycle running free trials, even though I know my product and myself I can fulfill upon, right? Versus hopping on calls with commercial agents who had never heard of a solution before. I get to feel like the man providing them with this opportunity, and they're so much more open-minded. They're so much more transparent. And yes, it's a harder close because I'm now doing one call closes. I don't get to display my work anymore, but I get to charge higher prices. I get to have the ability to increase my sales skills and actually rise to the occasion rather than falling to whatever my offer is, right? So that was a huge shift just from a mental standpoint, but also the business standpoint. It took me in a completely different direction.
Well, overall, how do you feel now? And I guess how has your life changed?
I feel great. And I've talked about this a lot. Like, I take so much more pride in what I do now. I have so much more purpose knowing that I can say I'm doing something that pretty much no one else is doing. Like I get to show my company to other people, and I'm not boastful. I'm never that guy that's like, look at me. But like when it does come across, I feel nothing but pride for myself. It's changed my life in a lot of ways, and none of them are bad. And now I went from avoiding the risk to being extremely thrilled by the opportunity to challenge myself, put myself in situations where you never really know the outcome, but at the end of the day, knowing I'm always going to find a way to figure it out.
That's awesome. Now, I guess, what are the stats of your business now?
So far over the past 3 months, started a little bit slow, had to kind of figure out exactly how fulfillment was going to look, how the product was going to look. But since then, had to make some adjustments, started with Facebook ads, presenting to clients, wasn't really resonating with them. And I realized that doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? Transitioned the product, immediately got 2 sales the first 2 times I pitched it, right? $15,000 deal for commercial as well as residential. Another agent, $9,360, brought on another agent for $9,360. And a bit, I've been lagging a little bit. I'm just trying to increase my sales skills, but I know soon the revenue is going to start pumping in. But right now we have 3 deals closed in the past 2 months.
Nice. And I guess looking back, of what are you most proud about your journey?
I think from the very beginning, just making that decision that I'm never going to give up, because if you just never give up and you're constantly improving, it's impossible to lose. And I realized that like last year, even though back then I never really realized that. I just had the willingness that I never was going to stop. This year, because you gave me the option of staying in residential or trusting you and transitioning. And I think I'm happiest and most proud of myself that not just that I had the faith in you, but I also had the faith in myself that I was going to figure it out. So I'm proud of myself for that. And I'm proud of myself for never, like you said, some people look back, and I made that decision and I never looked back. Even when I was hesitant, even when I was spending, the whole weekend just coffee, just sitting here trying to figure out how I was going to do it. And I just decided I'm going to figure it out one way or another, and I'm not going to look back no matter what happens.
That's sweet. What's one piece of advice that you would give to the earlier version of yourself before you went through this transformation?
Just sit down, pick a direction to go in, stay focused every single day, never give up, and trust the process, because good things will come as long as you just trust the process, listen to the right people, and be very disciplined and diligent with your work, just like you would as an athlete.
It's awesome. Well, I appreciate it.
Of course.
Anything else you want to share?
Bro, honestly, I'm looking forward to the future. Like,
Oh, me too.
I know we just got started, and I'm telling you, bro, like it's been hard fucking days, and I'm still like, I still get nervous, and like there's always shit going on. There's always fires, but I know I'm going to get to the point where I figure it out. I'm getting good revenue in, and there's going to be more problems that come tomorrow, but
that's business, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you're at 30K a month or 300K a month. There's always problems.
Yeah.
They just get bigger, right? But you get more skilled on how to solve them.
Exactly. Yeah.
So your problems and my problems feel just as bad to each other.
You think so? You don't think you don't think the problems you were experiencing when you were at my level, they feel the same when you're at yours, or do you just kind of like, it just goes over your head now a little bit?
Well, they feel the same to me. I just handle them differently.
Okay.
Right? Like, I couldn't even, like, I would probably die if I dealt with the problems that I deal with today 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, I would probably just like quit the business. Like, I'd be like, there's no chance I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Right. And if I had a problem that I dealt with 5 years ago today, I would be like, this is, I would just laugh it off. Like, okay, like, whatever. Like, just like,
Yeah.
This is nothing. Alrighty, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Appreciate the kind words. And I'll meet with you very soon.
Sounds good, brother. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.